Most people make the mistake in thinking self-worth is something you build, but that's totally and utterly wrong. Self-worth is something that you rediscover within yourself. It's always there, but we must remove the blocks and the unconscious programming and the unconscious beliefs, and most importantly, the emotional addiction that is keeping us in this low energy, low self-worth, and negative state. So in this video, that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get into it. Now, there's two main emotions that develop self-worth. That's going to be shame and guilt. These two will completely destroy your self-image and self-worth. So we need to address these at the root level. Now, how do we do it? A lot of us have before felt a intense amount of shame and an intense amount of guilt in our life. And if you're self-aware enough to understand what that feels like, you know it feels very gross. Your brain almost shuts off. It's like this heavy cloud that's just above your head. And you quite literally, your brain just doesn't function properly. So, what do we do about this? Most people think you just give yourself self compassion, self love, just sit with it. And I've done this for many years, and there's something to it for sure. It's better than not doing anything. But I think that it is a inferior way of dealing with these negative emotions. Now, I will tell you how I was able to come to this conclusion on how I broke free from a lot of the shame and guilt that I feel and what I actually do to overcome it. But before I get into that, we need to understand the underlying mechanism. So you have your thoughts, and then under your thoughts is the emotion, shame and guilt. And then under that is the programming. So once you dissolve the programming, you no longer have to deal with the emotions that are there. So the way I learned about this was through a form of self-hypnosis. So I was doing self-hypnosis and I was towards the end of the process of doing it, and I was feeling a very positive and high state. And I had certain mantras that I was using that I wanted the outcome, and I was basically repeating those and feeling those and seeing myself those. And this is like core identity change. Now, the problem most people have is they don't actually do the negation before they do the actual shift, like the actual positive intent. So, in my personal experience, I found that first deleting the negative part, then adding the positive part is the best way. Most people just want to add the positive part, and that works too, but there's a lot of internal resistance, and you end up just falling back in your own path. So after I got done with this process, I started to feel incredible, like over the very, very good. And then I noticed there's this part of myself that's pulling me towards the highly critical, the always wanting to heal, always wanting to perform better, trying to criticize and tweak just so I can become a better version of myself. And what I realized was if I got into that mode of thinking, I would have to forego the positive emotions and the positive state I was in. So then that gave me this realization. Why is it that I am constantly choosing this more negative state where I'm always criticizing, trying to fix something, trying to understand myself instead of just sitting in this high vibration, positive, high self worth state? And the answer was very, very simple. I was trying to get rid of any possibility or any residual shame that was in my system. So I was like, if I fix myself and I become perfect, then I could finally then become positive, high vibe, whatever it is. So then I started to deconstruct that a little bit more. It's like, where is this shame coming from? The shame's coming from not being good or being bad. Okay. Why am I trying to be perceived in this manner? Well, because ultimately what I wanted was love. So then, upon thinking on this and meditating on this, I then realized whether someone loves you isn't up to you. And if you have to change and abandon yourself to then earn this said love, which you by the way, had to do as a child, this is where you learned it from, did that person really actually love you? And then that led me to the question, who did I need to be for my parents to love me? And what I came to notice was I needed to analyze how I was thinking. I needed to be good. I needed to be liked. I needed to be approved of. So I was mixing approval with love. And the ultimate outcome I ended up getting from this was fuck love. Not in the sense of I don't want it in my relationships, but in the sense of I'm done trying to manufacture it. And love is going to be a bare minimum in my relationships. Everything else can get stacked on that. But trying to earn or behave or act in a manner in which I wanted to earn love, in which I was like trying to deserve love, I just said, F that. I'm not doing that no more. So then once I went through that, I started stacking the positive. I started stacking the positive beliefs, being who I am, who I want to be, my values, and just behaving, right? And then all that shame that came up from the person I needed to be to have to be loved started to surface because I wasn't acting in line with that. So then when I started to let go of that need to behave a certain way to then be worthy or deserving of love, all the shame that came up saying you need to be this type of person, you need to be this way to then be worthy of love started to create all this shame in my head basically. And ultimately, the decision I made was fuck that shame. You could be there, but you don't matter. I'm not giving you any attention. I'm not trying to resist it or push it down. You're good to be there, but you mean nothing to me. I'm going to feed the more positive things in my life. I'm going to believe the more positive things about me. And I'm not going to be hypercritical or analytical so people can like me. Screw all that. I'm just going to feed the positive, and if someone doesn't love me because of it, good riddance, right? You never loved me to begin with. And all of a sudden, this need for validation just goes out the window, and you just stop caring. People's negative opinions do not matter. You can push them away, they no longer have to exist for you. And if people want to love you, they can. It's not your fault. It's not up to you. If someone thinks you're not worthy of love, they're wrong. Point blank, period. They are wrong. Just like you would be wrong if you look at someone and say they're not worthy of love. And that's if that's something that is within you or triggers you, maybe that's something that you need to look at. So then ultimately, what that allows me to do is not be so caught up in my emotions and allow me to be more in reality and start making decisions logically. And if shame or guilt or whatever comes up, you could be there, but you do not matter. You do not impact the way I see myself or see the world, and you give it very little authority. And then over time, this shame, that thing that you're addicted to, these emotional states, start to learn smaller and smaller, and you start to put more attention and you start to meditate and feel on the person you want to be. And this is what we call an identity shift. Anything less than this is futile. You'll probably always go back. Everything I've tried that wasn't this caused me to go back and revert into my old ways. So, this is how you create massive shift in self-worth in a very short amount of time, completely change your life, and everything that didn't work before this in this video is why that is. If you want help dissolving any of these self-sabotaging behaviors, patterns, emotional addictions, or whatever, I do one-on-one to help dissolve this. So we would put you in a discovery call, see if you're a right fit. And if it is, we could help you out with that. And if you like this video, follow, subscribe, whatever, leave a like, and I will see you in the next video.